Death Metal, The Secret Origin Issue 1 heads to our Earth in 1984, where the young Clark Kent reads the Superman comics he's named after, remembering how he always had Superman to count on, till he betrayed him. Soon Kenny and his boys come to harass Clark, telling him there is a toll for reading comics in the store. Clark stands up to them, telling them this isn't his store, and he's only got money enough to buy the new comic. Kenny says that Superman is so lame, angering the boy as he takes his book, making fun of him for being named after the hero. Kenny rips up the comic as Laurie comes by, dumping a Slurpee over Kenny, saying that her mother owns the store and thanks to their actions, they are now banned for life. Clark is glad to see his friend, apologizing for the comic, saying that he'll pay for it, but Laurie tells him not to worry, saying that Clark was so brave to stand up to them. However, Clark doesn't think he was, saying what Laurie did was incredible. She tells Clark not to sell himself short since he tried and that's what counts. Later on, as he bags and boards his comics like the good comic book fan he is, Clark learns from his mother that Laurie was on the phone, making Clark clamor to learn what she wanted. Later, as Clark and Laurie fall into a romantic relationship and celebrate the new year together, he remembers that he's done everything for her and to get back to her, since Laurie is his world until the end. One Halloween, Clark is met by Laurie, who tells him that they are going to be late. Clark apologizes since he was getting too invested in his Superman and Supergirl comic. Clark notices that she's dressed up like a mermaid, complimenting her costume as Laurie hands over his costume, Superboy costume. Laurie mentions how the real Superboy had a girlfriend named Laurie the Mermaid, hence her swimsuit costume. Dressing up, the two head down to the Hampton Beach with some friends to celebrate Halloween. Clark, however, is more interested in the stars, wishing he could just touch them. He soon thinks he can hear something calling him way up into the sky, something that needs his help. Running down the beach, Clark tries to fly, but ends up falling on his face into the sand. He apologizes to Laurie, not knowing what he was thinking, as they head back round to their friends. As they walk, Clark sees a shooting star, quickly making a wish on it, when he suddenly begins to fly, high into the sky, where he meets the real Superman. Clark remembers Superman telling him how he could help the other heroes defeat the threat that the boy was actually reading in the comics at the moment, the Crisis on Infinite Earths. As they fought the Anti-Monitor, the multiverse collapsed and Earth Prime was destroyed, with his parents and Laurie along with it. As hard as Clark tried to accept it, he couldn't, trying his best to bring back his world, but he was stopped by the New Earth's Titans, causing him to lash out and become a monster. In the present, Clark Kent, now known to the multiverse as Superboy Prime, finds himself in a world where a Batman wannabe has tried to remake the world in his own image, and now everything in the universe is upside down and he doesn't know what's happening, with the worst part being that no one cares anymore. The Superman family stand nearby, wondering if Prime will help them, but Connor knows that he only helps himself. Prime can hear them with his super hearing talking behind his back, as do the villains, who are more afraid of him than the Superman family, wanting to quickly kill him as well, knowing that he's poison. Prime takes a seat on the rocks between the two teams, where he is soon met by Krypto, wondering why the dog is there. The dog happily smiles at him, letting Prime pat him. Clark remembers the first story he read about the super dog, but his thoughts are cut short as Superboy plans to attack him, thinking Prime is hurting the dog. Clark says that he's not doing anything, but Connor continues his threats, saying that he'll feed Prime his own armor. Prime tells him to keep away from him, since he never did like the flying dog in a cape. Soon the Batman Who Laughs army arrives for a fight, revealed to be many of the Supermen from the 52 worlds the villain made. Clark knows that the villains don't realize not only is he meant to be one of them, he's the most dangerous. Superman asks Lex Luthor to fight with him, and the villain says he's more than happy to, since it'll be good Superman killing practice. The villains attack and the war begins as the Saint of the Church of the Last Sun attacks Superboy Prime, who easily bests the villain, angered by his words that on his world, Superboy Prime is barely a footnote in history. Prime knows that his world doesn't matter, but when he smashes the villain around, he sees the world he's from change, becoming safe and hopeful in this villain's disappearance. He wonders what he just did, taking off into the sky and speeding through the 52 worlds to the darkest night. Clark begins to wonder if he could use these worlds and change them if he kills the monster behind them. Clark again smashes through reality, seeing a world where he is a father to his and Laurie's children and a hero, but now he hears screams and pain. He finds the Darkest Knight, attacking the villain and smashing him around the reality. The Knight knows that he's not going anywhere, but Prime's story is now over. Clark demands the villain laugh, but the Knight says that he would never laugh at Prime, since they both aren't that different. Clark knows that he's nothing like the villain, since he's tried to do the right thing, whereas the Knight wanted to make everything evil. The Darkest Knight says that he wishes to evolve everything to where it was already headed, as the villain smashes Prime around, telling him he can have everything he wants and wishes for. He just needs to stand aside before he has to force the villain to use all his energy to kill him. Angered, Prime knows that won't be happening, since no one can kill him. He viciously pummels the villain, wanting him to try and kill him, so the Knight unleashes a huge wave of energy, but it's all for nothing as the villain is beaten, thrown back down into Earth. Superboy Prime feels the villain's power and how he can make it his and remake his Earth again, but in doing so he'll have to destroy what is left of this Earth. Superboy Prime knows that no one on this world matters since they all hate him, but Krypto comes to see the boy again. He tells the dog to leave, but Krypto won't leave Prime's side. The Darkest Knight manages to get up, saying they cannot kill one another, so he wants to help Prime. Tearfully, Prime declines the offer, outraging the villain, who says that he could have everything he ever wanted if he just joins his army of supermen. Clark wants to say yes, having seen a world where he is accepted and it becomes a hero again, but it's a world without his parents and without Laurie. Telling Krypto to go to safety, Superboy Prime closes his fist one more time, focusing all his reality-shattering power into it and unleashing it into the Darkest Knight. The power shatters everything, including Clark's dreams, as he is engulfed by the unleashed power, which sends him plummeting down towards Earth. Steel notices that the 52 worlds are vanishing as Cyborg Superman knows that whomever did this is now dead. They will never know who did it. Krypto, however, knows, having found the body of Superboy Prime, howling into the sky as the hero dies. Clark, however, stops reading his comic, wondering what's going on, knowing that he was fighting someone, finding himself even on the front cover of the death metal comic. Laurie comes to see if he wants to get some lunch, and Clark is shocked that she is there, making the woman remember that it's Clark's time alone with his comics, since it's either a Tuesday or a Wednesday. He stops the woman, however, looking at the death metal comic again and knowing he doesn't know how the story ends, but maybe he does, thinking a to be continued ending they always do. Putting the comic away, Clark wants to go outside, told by Laurie to bring his dog with him. Clark doesn't remember having a dog as Laurie brings in a white Krypto-looking dog, who runs to greet his master happily. Going outside, Clark finds the sun is quite bright, thinking maybe this is just some trick and maybe all along he did die, but it doesn't matter to him now. As they walk down the street, Clark notices that everything now feels and looks a bit different, asking about the night on the beach and how he flew. Laurie laughs it off, remembering Clark face planting in the sand and knowing that she won't ever get tired of telling that story. Suddenly, the kids playing in front of them have their ball bounce out into the road in front of a car, with one of them going after it. Clark races to save the child who went after the ball and manages to lift the car off the ground and save the child, knowing maybe his story isn't over and maybe they never are. Death Metal: The Secret Origin Issue 1 was an utterly fantastic final word on Superboy Prime from his creator Jeff Johns and Death Metal creator Scott Snyder, who expertly wove a story that is utterly heartwarming while also adhering to the aesthetics of death metal and the meta framing devices the series is using. I enjoyed Johns getting a moment to revisit his character, a character who is aware, ironically, he is very alien to everyone around him and even the world he is on, but that still doesn't stop him from coming full circle and becoming like the hero who inspired him and becoming a real Superman, which I thought was really damn cool. On top of that, we have some really fantastic meta commentary on Prime, knowing nothing matters in comics, since there is always reboots and crises and refresh and something that resets the clock, basically. Much like how us real life comic fans know as well, every 5 years there's going to be some big event that relaunches the whole series. But I like that his arc through this issue is just so good that by the end of it, he knows that that's totally okay and he's fine with it. And there is always to be stories told from these characters, no matter if they get rebooted or refreshed. The ending with Clark getting his own version of a heaven or a different world to live on was really fantastic, and again, like comics do, it resets everything and puts the toys back in the toy chest, so later on if if someone wants to do something with a character, they can in his own little part of the multiverse, and he isn't weighed down by this whole ideal that he's now a villain. They can do something new with him, which I think is damn cool. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10.